So let's talk about social media growth. I think it's time we forget everything we think we know. What if I told you that chasing trends and obsessing over analytics and constantly trying to feed that algorithm, what if that's the very thing that's holding you back? Today, we're going to dive into this really powerful kind of counterintuitive strategy that basically throws the entire rulebook out the window. It's called the anti-algorithm strategy, and honestly, it might just change the way you create content forever.
Okay, check this out. This quote from watercolor artist Chantal Leonhardt is what kicked this whole thing off. Just let that sink in for a second. Going from 25,000 to over 100,000 followers in about a month by breaking all the rules. Sounds kind of made up, right? It goes against absolutely everything the social media gurus preach to us day in and day out. It's a claim that should make all of us just stop and ask, what are we missing here? So yeah, let's dig in and figure out exactly how she pulled this off.
I mean, just look at the difference here. On one side, you've got the typical guru rules, that endless hamster wheel of posting every single day, making super short videos, and always chasing trending audio. It is exhausting. I'm sure a lot of you have felt that pressure to just keep feeding the machine. But her method, it's the complete opposite. Posting maybe once a week, creating these thoughtful, longer videos, well over a minute, and just totally ignoring trends. Now, logically, this should be a recipe for disaster, right? This is what we're told will get you absolutely buried by the algorithm. But the results? Well, the results speak for themselves.
And this right here, this brings us to the core idea of the entire strategy. It's a huge mindset shift. Before we even think about tactics, before we worry about how to do anything, we have to get super clear on our purpose. It's not about the latest features or the right hashtags, it's all about the why. So before you start stressing about hashtags or posting times or the perfect video idea, this whole strategy forces you to just pause and ask a much deeper question. Why are you even creating this stuff in the first place? What's the end goal? The biggest mistake people make is they just copy-paste a strategy they saw in someone else's video, but that's like trying to use a map for a totally different city. This is all about building a strategy that is uniquely and authentically yours.
This quote really just hits the nail on the head. Think about it for a second. The moment you start making stuff just to please the algorithm, haven't you kind of lost the plot? You end up serving this machine instead of your own mission or your business or your art. This strategy says that's not just ineffective, it's actually bad for your brand in the long run. It just leads to burnout, you feel creatively drained, and you end up with content that feels, well, soulless.
Okay, so how do we actually turn this philosophy into something we can use? Well, finding your why isn't some vague, abstract concept. It's a really concrete process that breaks down into three main pillars: your brand, your goals, and your audience. This is the foundational work that makes everything else click into place. Everything, and I mean everything, starts with your brand identity. Think of it like your North Star, a single, clear statement that guides every single piece of content you make. It's the filter you run every idea through. It's not just what you do, it's who you are and the promise you're making to your audience. This is the secret to consistency. And without that, building a real, engaged community is, well, it's pretty much impossible. And this is the big one. This is the question you have to answer. Can you boil down your entire purpose into one single sentence? It sounds so simple, but trust me, it is one of the hardest parts of this entire thing. It's also the absolute foundation for everything else. So just take a second. Who are you and why do you create? So here's her actual brand identity statement. Chantal Leonhardt is a watercolor artist and illustrator, inspiring you to connect with your inner child and chase your dreams. See the difference there? It's not just, I'm an artist. It's specific, it's mission-driven, it's emotional. Every piece of content she makes can be measured against this. Does this painting tutorial inspire? Does this story about her journey help people connect with their inner child? That's the power of having a clear brand identity. It turns you from just another creator into a memorable brand with a real mission. Once you've got your brand identity locked in, the next step is getting crystal clear on your goals. Like, what are you actually trying to do here? Is your main thing to sell your art? Are you trying to book clients? Or maybe you just want to build a really cool, engaged community and teach them things. Your answer here is going to dictate the kind of content you need to be making. For example, content designed to sell a product is going to look way different from content that's just designed to educate. Every post should be a strategic step toward one of these goals. All right, so you've defined your why. Now we can finally get into the how. According to this strategy, creating really compelling content follows this simple but super powerful three-part formula that just works no matter what platform you're on. This three-part structure is basically the anatomy of every great video. It all starts with the hook. You've got about 3 seconds to stop someone from scrolling. You have to earn their attention with a great question, a shocking statement, a cool visual. Then you deliver the value. This is the heart of your content. It's where you deliver on the promise of that hook by being entertaining or educational or inspiring. You're solving a problem or making them feel something. And finally, the call to action. This part is so important. If someone enjoys your content, their brain is literally asking, okay, what's next? You have to tell them, whether it's to follow you, leave a comment, or check out your website. Don't leave them hanging.
And this slide really highlights a critical piece of the puzzle. Beyond any formula, the content that builds a true, loyal fan base is the stuff that creates an emotional connection. As the source material says, people buy on emotion, not logic. And the best way to bridge that gap between logic and emotion, it's storytelling. It's just how our brands are wired to connect with each other. It's how you get people invested in your journey, not just your latest video. That emotional investment is what creates a real fan, and that is so much more valuable than a one-off viral hit.
So this brings us to the final, and you could argue the most important part of this whole strategy, actively choosing to build a community over just chasing the algorithm. This is where real, sustainable growth actually comes from.
Now this is where it gets really interesting. This strategy isn't about completely ignoring the algorithm. It's about making the algorithm work for you. And the secret to doing that is consistency. When you are just relentlessly consistent with your message and your style and the value you provide, you are essentially training the algorithm. It starts to learn exactly who your perfect audience is, and it starts showing them your content more and more. The algorithm ends up favoring you because you're reliable, not because you're jumping on trends, you're not fighting it, you're making it your best friend. So how do you actually build this community? Well, it boils down to these 3 pillars. First, transparency. Sharing your process, your struggles, your behind the scenes, that stuff builds incredible trust. It shows the human behind the account. Second, consistency. Just reinforcing who you are and what you stand for, over and over again. It makes you reliable, it makes you recognizable. And finally, involvement. This is the active part. Replying to comments, answering DMs, asking questions. It's the work that makes people feel seen and valued. This is what turns passive viewers into a true, supportive community that's going to show up for you again and again.
And so we end right back where we started, with the one question this entire strategy forces you to ask yourself. Just take a hard look at what you're doing on social media. Is your strategy built to serve the whims of a machine? Or is it built to serve you, your brand, your goals, and your community? The answer to that question, well, that might just change everything.